Welcome to Rebels Speak and Isaiah Meanderings. Today we read probably one of my very best favorite, just through the history of my life, a chapter that's spoken so deeply to me, Isaiah 54. And many of us will know it. Many of us will know it, but I want to see it again today in light of God speaking to a people whose parents were highly rebellious. They were rebellious in a sustained manner for a very, very long time. Rebellious in a sustained manner for a long time. And God addresses that sustained rebellion by allowing, right, first the northern kingdom. We just want to keep track of the book of Isaiah. When it's written to the southern kingdom as it speaks and foretells what will happen to the northern kingdom. The southern kingdom sees what happens to the northern kingdom. They still don't repent. They still don't work out right relationship with God. And then a difference. So the northern kingdom's taken down by Assyria, but that southern kingdom will be taken down by Babylon. And now we're 50 years into the exile, into the people sent out from Jerusalem. And they're in their state of despondency. And God speaks this new message to them, this message of great news, right? Good news. And it's interesting to me. There's just this sustained message of hope. And here in Isaiah 54, we also see where God is speaking from God's heart, that there was a way that what God did to get the hearing of their foreparents. God's not going to use that process ever again. And it's clearly spoken here in Isaiah 54. So we're going to read through it. Just let this speak to your heart. It is beautiful poetry. It is beautiful imagery that makes it beautiful poetry. Beautiful words, the heart of God revealed. Okay, sing, O barren women, you who never bore a child. And we want to immerse our mind in the thinking of the day that there is terrific shame around this storyline, okay? A woman who's never born a child. We want to be able to hear it, not because it's disgraceful, but we want to hear the tenderness with which God is speaking to a culture. And it walks in with this imagery of an unloved wife, a person that the culture, the person whose worth the culture easily does not see. A person who is easily discounted as having no worth. My goodness. Okay. That's what they see. That's what they hear. This is this imagery. Sing, O barren woman, you who never bore a child, burst into song, shout for joy, you who were never in labor. Because more are the children of the desolate, that unloved woman, than of her who has a husband, says Yahweh. God's speaking to the sense of their heart, of a forlornness we see it a little bit in Hannah. There's something about their state of existence that cannot be comforted. And in your unconsolable state, sing and shout. Because you who has not a husband, okay, you who feels unloved, they feel that where's Yahweh? We're an abandoned people. Here we are in Babylon with all these other gods. And what good is our God? We are unloved and we are unchosen and we are abandoned. And God opens this chapter with this beautiful imagery. No, you who knows, just this imagery of forgotten and unwanted and purposeless and no status. You of no status, sing for joy and shout out loud, because you're going to have more status than the one of the most status. And it's one whose status is conferred upon them, right? Not that you've earned the status. That's in this storyline too, but one upon whom status is conferred. A married woman giving birth to children, status is conferred upon her. You as one who has no status will have more status than the one upon whom status is conferred. And not only that, enlarge the place of your tent, your home, Enlarge. Stretch your tent curtains wide. Do not hold back. Do not hold back. Function as one whose life is marked by increase and fullness of joy, and just your family needs more space. Function as one whose family needs more space, and the pride and the joy. Oh, we're having to make our tent wider. Lengthen your cords, strengthen your stakes, make that home secure. For you will spread out to the right and to the left. Your descendants will dispossess nations and settle in their desolate cities. The nations around you will be desolate, and you will be taking over their land. I love this. Do not be afraid. You will not suffer shame. What is their fear? What is our fear? Worthlessness, purposelessness. What's the point of my life? That's an easy fear. In a day and age that has no eyes to see and no ears to hear, how do I make a place for myself? How is it that I am seen? How is it that my life has value and worth? Do not be afraid. You will not suffer shame. Do not fear disgrace. You will not be humiliated. This is such an important word everywhere, to every human. The God who counts the hairs upon your head sees you. And he's speaking to a people that have only known disgrace 50 years into this exilic period. 50 years into the diaspora. Let me speak this to you again. Do not be afraid. You will not suffer shame. Do not fear disgrace. You will not be humiliated. You will forget the shame of your youth. There was shame in their youth. I want to say that. There was shame. What do you do when there was shame in your youth? You will forget the shame of your youth. And remember no more the reproach of your widowhood. What is the reproach of your widowhood? That you have no means for survival. The reproach of your widowhood is your vulnerability. And there's shame. There is something's gone wrong. There is a lot of social shame in the culture that the scripture is addressing. There's shame of your widowhood because how will you make a living? How will you be cared for? If you have no son and no child, how will you be cared for? But there's also just kind of this presumption of shame. We know that from the story of the widow, Tamar, where her husbands keep dying, that she's bad luck. That there's ways that behaviors and the situation of your life, the circumstances of your life holds you to an accountability of narrative. That somehow the narrative looks down upon you. This kind of, not esoteric, this, I'm going to say existential shame. There's this shame that something about your circumstances, right? This karma shame, that something about your circumstances speaks of your worth and value. And God's taking that on in this story. He's taking that on. Do not be afraid. You will not suffer shame. Do not fear disgrace. You will not be humiliated. You will forget the shame of your youth. There was shame in their youth. I know I've said that already, but I'm just going to repeat myself. And you will remember no more the reproach of your widowhood. Widowhood has reproach. Something's gone wrong, and it's very, very wrong. And in that very, very wrong is complete vulnerability. There's no pathway forward. If you have no sons and you have no husband, there is no pathway forward. Why? For your maker, capital M, is your husband. Yahweh Almighty is his name. See, they're saying, who are you, God? Who are you in this storyline? Where are you and who are you? And God's walking into the storyline and saying, no, the maker, your maker is your husband. Yahweh Almighty is his name. The Holy One of Israel, that's that relationship. My relationship to you is of great importance, and your relationship to me is of great importance to me. And I'm not just some any old one. I'm the real maker. I'm the real God, and I'm the one in intimate relationship with you. The Holy One of Israel is your Redeemer. I have the way, I have the will. He is called the God of all the earth. By the way, you're not established with just any old God. Oh my goodness. You are in right relationship because I, God, make it right. The God of the whole wide earth, the one true God, the God that sustains right relationship with you. You are not forgotten. Yahweh will call you back as if you were a wife deserted and distressed in spirit. They feel deserted. A deserted woman. The shame of it is beyond our imagination, I think. Some of us know quite a bit about it. And then we just add on all the more in a culture where there's no path forward for her. God is using such poignant imagery here. A wife, as if you were a wife deserted and distressed in spirit, a wife who married young only to be rejected in all your innocence and all your purity. And then there you are, innocent, pure, rejected and no path forward. And you had nothing to do with it, says your God. And then here's some just scripture I love, verse 7. For a brief moment, I abandoned you. God says, I abandoned you. For a brief moment, but with deep compassion, I will bring you back. In a surge of anger, God was angry. God was angry at a rebellious people that God saw no meaningful path forward with. In a surge of anger, I hid my face from you for a moment, but with everlasting. I want us to get this, because otherwise we have this kind of idea of this kind of raging God who's angry and now nice, really unpredictable. And these verses are very important that they be heard right. Okay, there was a point of anger that I dealt with your foreparents, and you've lived under that that reality. That I said, no more. I'm not living in this very broken, sick relationship with you anymore, right? I'm not enabling you in your state of sin anymore. And here is that next generation 50 years into it. For a brief moment, I abandoned you, but with deep compassion, I will bring you back. In a surge of anger, I hid my face from you for a moment. I wouldn't look at you. I wouldn't be seen by you. And by not looking at you, my heart wouldn't be moved. God's heart's so easily moved. It's like God said, no, I couldn't look because of the depth of my compassion. But now with everlasting kindness, I will have compassion on you, says Yahweh, your Redeemer. And then this is very important. To me, this is like the days of Noah. This isn't just, I was mad and now I'm not mad. I'm over it, like a moody human being. Oh, yeah, I was kind of upset. Yeah, human beings can be like that. Like you catch them at the bad moment and then they might say something. Oh, did I say that? Oh, I didn't mean it. God's not like that. To me, this is like the days of Noah. When I swore with the waters of Noah. To me, this is like the days of Noah when I swore that the waters of Noah would never again cover the earth. This is what God is contrasting that period of abandonment to. This is like the days of Noah when I swore that the waters of Noah would never again cover the earth. So now I have sworn not to be angry with you. This isn't a teeter-totter ride with a very moody God who's emotionally unstable. Never will I rebuke you again. Though the mountains, though the mountains may be shaken and the hills may be removed, there is turmoil and tumult in this world. There's turmoil and tumult in this world, but here lies the difference. Though the mountains be shaken, mountains will be shaken, and the hills will be removed. There will be outcomes that will be all kinds of human turmoil and tumult. Yet my unfailing love for you will not be shaken. You will walk through lots of things, but my love will not be shaken. My love for you will not be removed. This is the difference right here in chapter 54 of Isaiah. Wherever you go, I am with you. I'm not removing myself from you. I'm with you in the turmoil you face. I'm with you in the tumult you walk through. There's been a removedness of God, right? A removedness, diverted God's gaze. There's been a removedness that will never, ever happen again. Wherever you walk, wherever you go, I'm with you. My unfailing love for you will not be shaken, nor my covenant of peace, shalom. Dr. Goldingay refers to that as well-being. My well-being will not be removed from you, says Yahweh, who has compassion on you. This is my permanent stance, is an alignment of compassion with you. I'm not doing this path of removing myself and surrendering you and even calling upon your enemies to come and deal with you. I'm not doing that ever again. Much like with Noah, I'm not sending a flood ever again. This is not how I'm coping with you ever again. Hear that. I'm not removing my compassionate gaze. My plan of nearness and compassion will always be with you in the midst of whatever hurdles you must address and face future forward. It won't be my removal. Oh, afflicted city, lashed. I mean, you can just feel, I want us to feel that this has been like a parent, this has been a tremendously hard season for God. And we have to keep our eye on the whole of the book of Isaiah, or it just gets petty. It just gets petty, and we read God wrongly. We read God wrongly. That he goes in the book of Isaiah goes way back in time, right? Way back in time, speaking to that southern kingdom, addressing that southern nation, looking at the northern kingdom that never has a single king that can trust God enough to try to bring righteousness to the land, always leading the people astray. And the southern kingdom sees it the whole time. And they pride themselves that they're not like that. And yet the whole while they're proud hearts, right? Their wealth corrupts them. Their wealth doesn't make them a nation that is full of the beauty and righteousness of God. No, that's God's hope. That they would be a witness to the nations of what it means to be human and what our createdness in the image of God looks like. But no, they don't. And so God turns to this plan with all of this excessive warning, almost near begging. God's not a beggar, but really wishing it so different. And then they're 50 years into this, and God says, I'll never do that again, I promise you. It's not worth it. As the flood were not worth it, this is not worth it. This is not worth it. And we saw in the last, where God says, no, I'm going to go forward with something that's from my own suffering next, right? Though the mountains be shaken and the hills be removed, yet my unfailing love for you will not be shaken, nor my covenant of well-being, my covenant of shalom, my covenant of peace will not be removed, says Yahweh, who has compassion on you. O afflicted city, lashed by storms and not comforted. See, I've not comforted you for a while. I will build you with stones of turquoise, your foundations with sapphires. I will make your battlements of rubies, your gates of sparkling jewels, and all your walls of precious stones. This is imagery of delight. I will make you beautiful. All your sons will be taught by Yahweh, and great will be your children's peace. I'm investing in you. I, God, Yahweh, am personally investing in you, precious, loved Israelites. In righteousness you will be established. What have they known? They've known tyranny. Listen to this. Tyranny will be far from you. You will have nothing to fear. Terror will be far removed. It will come not near you. And I love this. If anyone does attack you, it will not be my doing. See, God said this attack, both Assyria on the northern kingdom and Babylon on the southern kingdom, God said, I'm going to use them. I'm going to use them to correct you. And now God says, no, if anyone does attack you, it will not be my doing. Whoever attacks you will surrender to you. And I want us to hear this shift here, because the people never, there's not a nation, there's a wish for an unoccupied reign, right? That Jerusalem's restored. The temple is rebuilt, but it's never, autonomy is never restored. There's never a kingdom. They're waiting for that messianic character, that messianic individual, the Messiah, to come. When Mary hears that she's carrying Jesus, the Messiah, her vision is a restoration of the kingdom. But there's something that God is seeing here, that there's a nearness of God to the people. There's a shifting relationally by which the people will be restored. There's a shifting relationally by which the people will be restored. Relationally, a nearness of God. See, it is I, and God's going to talk about how he's used these nations, and it is I who created the blacksmith, who fans the coals into flame and forges a weapon fit for its work. Babylon was a weapon fit for its work. And it is I who created and destroyed. And it is I who have created the destroyer to work havoc. God's owning that there's something about Babylon that God brought forth. No weapon forged against you will prevail. We use this expression a lot. Babylon was the weapon forged against Israel. And God is saying that weapon that I forged against you, it's not going to prevail. That weapon, Babylon's not going to prevail against you. The circumstances that you're in are not going to prevail against you. And you will refute every tongue that confuses, and you will refute every tongue that accuses you. They are so vulnerable. They are accused by many tongues. If you are in a vulnerable place where you are being accused by voices around you, and there's something about following God that's gotten you into a vulnerable place where people are accusing you. No weapon forged against you will prevail. Babylon, you will not prevail. And you will refute every tongue that accuses you. There they are, small, mockable. Everything about their circumstance speaks accusable. This is the heritage of the servants of Yahweh. No, yours is not that heritage. Yours is not that heritage. Yours is not that heritage. Yours is not the heritage of the unloved. Yours is not the heritage of the forgotten. Yours is not the heritage of the uncared for. That is not your inheritance nor your heritage. It's not. And people look at the situation you're in and they say abandoned and storm-tossed. And God says, no, rubies, sapphires, turquoise, sparkling jewels. Yours is the heritage. Yours, Israel, I want to speak it. Yours, Israel, yours is not the heritage of one unloved. You're not in this situation because I don't love you. You're in this situation specifically because you're loved. And I kept saying, we saw it so many times, I will not abandon. I'm not giving your glory over to your treachery. I'm not going to let you be the product of your sin. And God had this way that he worked it. But he says, I'm never going to work it that way again. It's very important that we here today hear that. This isn't some teeter-totter. The petals picked. He's for me, he's against me. He's for me, he's against me. Oh, I behave right, he's for me. No. There was a time when God said, I'm not surrendering the glory, the relationship that I've established, that you be a people through whom the world sees my glory. I'm not surrendering that to your vanity and your pride and your bad alignments with the gods of the land. And there was a way that God fought forward through Assyria, through Babylon. And now God says, no, never again. I'm in alignment with you. I'm in alignment through you, full of compassion. My eyes are forever on you, full of compassion. And you feel now, and really we're like, God, where are you? Where are you? And God says, you're not forgotten. You're not despised. You're not neglected. And we're like, well, my circumstances speak forgotten, neglected, despised. And God says, no. And when you find yourself in circumstances like that, my compassion will always be with you here and out. My compassion is with you, and my compassion is for you. And whatever occurs, I am with you, right? Emmanuel, I'm with you. I am with you. Whatever you're going through, that weapon is not going to prevail over you. In fact, you yourself, I want to hear this, you will refute every tongue that accuses you. You're going to be in a situation where you can refute the liar that's speaking ill of you. This is the heritage of the servant of Yahweh, and this is their vindication from me, declares Yahweh. I'm thinking of extremely difficult circumstances, and knowing who we are in the presence of God, and knowing that we can speak to God in our circumstances, and we can say, God, you who loves me, show up in my story right now. Show me your love. Show me your vindication. Show me your presence in the midst of my wretchedness. I feel that. And the liar, he walks into our situation and circumstance and says, surely you're wretched because of God of love wouldn't let you be where you are. And God says, no, feel my compassion. See my presence. See my presence. See my abundant nearness. Know my nearness in this moment, and know my power to overcome misery. There's an ability of God to walk in, whether it's the book of Job, whether it's human testimonies of harshest of circumstances, where when God walks in, love prevails and power is spoken in the midst of human suffering, that only they who hear that can speak of it. The goodness of God in the land of the living is the legacy of God in all of our lives. Be blessed.